This is the Dawg Podcast. I'm your host, Matt DeBritz. Shout out to Syracuse soccer team who just won the national championship. They beat Indiana in a penalty shootout, 7-6. If you're not familiar with soccer, it's usually 5 shots for a penalty shootout. This one went to extra shots. I guess that's what you call it. The star of the penalty shootout was Russell Shealy, the goalie for Syracuse. He made 2 saves in that penalty shootout, and Sinclair hit the game winner. Exciting to watch college soccer. I don't really watch college soccer too often, but I've watched a few of their games this year. I watched the game on Friday night. I watched the game, the ACC tournament a month ago. They won the treble, which means they won the regular season of the ACC tournament, and now the national championship. So that's my soccer portion of the Dawg Podcast. Now back to basketball. So I had both games on pretty much at the same time. I was going back and forth. It's kind of paying attention more to soccer in the beginning, but Syracuse Monmouth was a 2-point game at the half, and Monmouth for a 1-9 team looked very confident. They were moving that ball around the zone. Their coach, King Rice, Binghamton native, they talked about it a lot in the broadcast, saying how he wanted to go to Syracuse. But one thing they didn't mention in the broadcast is that would he have played at Syracuse, because that was the time of Sherman Douglas, if you remember. So would have been a nice backcourt. Would he got any playing time that team? King Rice ended up going to North Carolina, which worked out for both teams, I guess. Anyway, back to the game tonight. So 2-point game at the half. The second half, kind of puzzling. Saw Bol Ajak starting instead of Benny Williams. I know I talked about the importance of Bol Ajak and kind of what he brings, but still surprising to me to see him start the second half. I know Benny wasn't playing particularly great. He had 2 points at the half. And whatever Jedi mind trick Jim Boeheim put on Benny Williams definitely worked. Bol Ajak kind of was struggling in the second half. He wasn't really getting out on the shooters. You know, as I said, Bol Ajak's good passer. He's a good rebounder. He does well in the zone. But if he's not doing one of those 3 things, obviously he's going to get the hook. So he did get the hook. Benny was back in. Benny had a better second half. He had 11 points. The second half only 2, and he finished the game with 13. But it seemed like he got undercut in a play, and at that moment, he bounced back right away and hit a put-back layup on the next play, and it seemed like that kind of like ignited him. And I talked about Benny, how he's better when he plays fast. I think he's better in a fast-paced offense, but tonight he even showed that he can keep his cool even when someone undercuts him and come back and play well, and he can be challenged by Coach Boeheim and come back and play well. I think we are seeing real growth with Benny Williams. The other guy that played a lot tonight on the role player side was Maliq Brown. I've been talking about Maliq Brown a lot on this podcast. My nephew played against him. My nephew kind of said the same thing. He generates offense off of defense, steals, rebounds. That's what all Maliq Brown does, and that's all Syracuse needs him to do. He comes in, he just does his job. 5 for 8 shooting, 11 points. Most of that was in the first half. And I think between Benny Williams, Bol Ajak, and Brown, kind of an interesting trio of guys that Syracuse can put in. It's a good problem to have. I mean, Bol Ajak, as I said, he's a good passer. He's a good rebounder. He's played well in the zone. But if he doesn't do those things, Benny Williams provides maybe more bounce, more explosiveness, can shoot better from the outside. He hit a 3 tonight, Benny Williams. Maliq Brown provides just a consistent guy around the basket. If you get the ball to the kid around the basket, it's going in. And that's been that way since the beginning of the season in the exhibition games, and that's the case right now. And so that's a good thing. It was still close in the second half. It was 53-52 with about a little over 15 minutes left in the game. Then Syracuse went on a 17-4 run the next 7 minutes. Within that run, there was a flagrant foul on Monmouth. Judah Mintz made the free throws, and kind of after that, Syracuse was in control. So what's next? It's Cornell. I talked about that a little bit last night, but Cornell scored 105 points on Miami of Florida. So they're not going to be a slouch team. And I think right now what we've seen in these games is that doesn't matter what teams' records are, they can come in the dome and get hot and play pretty well. I mean, Monmouth moved really well tonight. Their guys looked pretty good. I don't know what's happened in their other games, but against Syracuse, they didn't look like any really bad team. You know, you see some really bad teams come into the dome and Syracuse just destroys them. I'm not sure if Syracuse was just tired or they took Monmouth lightly. Whatever the case, they came out on top 86-71. A few more things to note. Syracuse three-point shooting has been pretty bad last couple games. Tonight, much better, 8 of 15. Really good in the first half, 6 of 8. In the second half, 2 of 7. If they can shoot 50% from three, usually more volume would help, but hey, I'll take that. It's an improvement. Again, Jesse Edwards, double-double. 12 points, 10 rebounds. Says 4 steals and 3 blocks. His blocks were emphatic for the most part, and he just keeps improving. And it's like, just feed the big man. Judah Mintz, another good game. Best game so far for Syracuse. Statistically, anyways. He was 24 points, 6 of 12 field goals. But most importantly, I think this stat line for him, 11 of 12 from the foul line and 5 assists. He hasn't been particularly shooting great from the foul line. Tonight, he made him pay on the line. He drives the basket hard. If he's going to drive the basket hard, he's got to convert on those foul shots. So, Chris Bell, 2 3-pointers and only 12 minutes. It's not about the 3-point shooting for him only. Boeheim always talks about his rebounding, and guess what? He had a goose egg. That's all I got for the Dome Dog podcast tonight. Thanks for checking me out on social media, on whatever podcast platform you like. You go to domedogpodcast.com to get the podcast. You can go to Spotify, Apple. You can go see me on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok now, on Facebook. I'm all over on Facebook on the different Syracuse message boards, but also my own. It's called Dome Dog Podcast. My group is facebook.com/groups/Dome Dog Pod. That's DOMEDWGPOD. Check me out.